In 1998, the Nintendo 64 was in its prime and the dynamic duo burst onto the scene. A honey bear named Banjo and his sassy bird companion Kazooie. They're the stars of a new 3D platformer that's about to become a phenomenon. Kids and adults alike were captivated by the colorful worlds, the quirky characters, and the infectious music. It was the kind of game that made you laugh out loud, scratch your head in puzzlement, and jump for joy when you finally collected that elusive Jiggy. But the happiness didn't last long, and Banjo and Kazooie's journey was cut short. The sequel, Banjo-Tooie, came out in 2000, and then silence. No Banjo Kazooie 3. No grand N64 finale for our beloved bear and bird. So, what happened? Why did we never get to see Banjo and Kazooie's next big adventure on the N64? And more importantly, will we ever see it? To understand the story, we need to go back in time. Not to 1998, but to 2002. This was the year that changed everything for Banjo and Kazooie. You see, Rare, the brilliant minds behind Banjo Kazooie, wasn't owned by Nintendo. They were just really good friends. But in 2002, Microsoft came knocking with a big, fat check. And just like that, Rare became a Microsoft studio. So what? Microsoft makes games too, right? Yeah, that's right, but here's the thing. Microsoft had just launched their first console, the Xbox. And the Xbox wasn't exactly known for cute, family-friendly platformers. Suddenly, Banjo and Kazooie found themselves in a whole new world. It was like they'd been picked up from their colorful, cartoony home and dropped into a gritty, action-packed war zone. It was a culture shock. But wait, didn't we get another Banjo-Kazooie game after that? Yeah, that's right. Again, in 2008, Rare released Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts for the Xbox 360. Now, don't get me wrong, Nuts and Bolts wasn't a bad game. In fact, it was pretty creative, but it wasn't the Banjo-Kazooie 3 that fans had been dreaming of. Instead of platforming and collecting, it was all about building vehicles. Sure, it was good, but it's not what we were expecting. So that's where we're at. No Banjo-Kazooie 3 on the N64, and a spin-off that didn't quite scratch that platforming itch. But surely, with all the nostalgia and fan demand, we'll get a proper Banjo-Kazooie 3 someday, right? Well, let's look at the facts. First off, Rare isn't the same company it was back in the N64 days. Many of the original Banjo-Kazooie team have moved on to other things. Some of them even tried to recapture the magic with a spiritual successor called Yooka-Laylee in 2017, but this didn't quite hit the mark. Steve Mayles, the character designer for Banjo and Kazooie, thinks it will be hard to find a team that could match the humor of the original games. Grant Kirkhope, the composer behind those catchy tunes, isn't convinced the audience is there anymore. And perhaps most tellingly, Greg Mayles, who's considered the janitor of the franchise, apparently doesn't like looking back. He'd rather create new experiences than revisit old ones. Maybe it's a bit of fear of failure. Capturing lightning in a bottle twice is no easy feat. The gaming landscape has changed, and what worked in 1998 doesn't necessarily work today. 3D platformers outside of Mario, they're not exactly topping the charts these days. The games that make big bucks now are usually online multiplayer experiences, open world epics, or cinematic action adventures. And here's where we hit our first big roadblock. Microsoft, like any big company, likes to make money. And right now, Rare is busy making that money with Sea of Thieves, their multiplayer pirate adventure game. It's what we call a live service game. It's constantly being updated with new content to keep players coming back, and that takes a lot of work. So much work, in fact, that at one point Rare had 3 whole teams dedicated to just Sea of Thieves. That doesn't leave much room for our furry and feathered friends, does it? But surely Microsoft wouldn't just let a beloved franchise like Banjo and Kazooie gather dust, right? Well, they kinda have a history of doing just that. Remember Crimson Skies, Jade Empire, even Microsoft's own franchises like Fable have been left in limbo for years. It seems that when it comes to older IPs, Microsoft's strategy is often out of sight, out of mind. But there's another option, right? Those remakes we've been seeing. The thing is, Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie have already been remastered. You can play them right now on Xbox One and Series X or S through backwards compatibility. They even run in 4K, so that ship has kinda already sailed. And let's not forget about time. It's been over 20 years since the last traditional Banjo-Kazooie game. That's a long time in the gaming world. A whole generation of gamers has grown up without knowing who Banjo and Kazooie are. It's like trying to bring back a TV show that's been off the air for decades. Sure, the old fans might be excited, but will it attract new viewers? Or in this case, new players? It's a financial risk that many would rather not take. So is there any hope for Banjo-Kazooie 3? If we're being realistic, the odds aren't looking great. What we're left with is a story of why Banjo-Kazooie 3 never happened, and why it probably never will. But hey, if you're feeling nostalgic, take a look at this hypothetical trailer some fans made. Oh, what could have been. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.